You were married to the man, Miss Alexander. You were married to Jefferson Brown. You must have had those long, quiet, intimate conversations in the middle of the night. Married couples do. Didn't you know he kept a diary? A woman like you would always know. Weren't you curious? Did you wonder about his fidelity?
No.
With a husband like Mr. Brown, you'd have to.
No.
What does the diary mean? What do all those strange letters and numbers mean? Are they a code? For women, perhaps?
Oh, no, he loved me. This guy loved me. He still does.
Helps those who help themselves. Not many people have the privilege of dying in their sleep. Good night, pretty Raymond.
What's going on here?
Mr. Devereaux, we weren't expecting you.
Surprise, surprise.
Who is it?
Are you all right?
Who are you? Please, why are you asking me all these questions? I don't know anything.
But all I asked was if you were all right.
No, I never saw the diary before. I don't know anything.
Well, that makes two of us, doesn't it? But suppose you start by telling me what you're doing here.
What?
Well, did your car break down? Were you ill on my doorstep? Are you George's visiting niece or something? It's not that I object to finding beautiful women in my bed. It's just that I get curious about how they got there.
But well, they brought me here.
And who might they be?
He said he was a counter-espionage agent.
And what name did he give you?
Foley.
George?
Yes, Foley. He said he was with the CEA.
Well, I had no idea George was moonlighting. Perhaps I don't pay him enough.
No, he said I was a spy, and that my husband was a spy, but it's not true.
Now, wait one moment. Yes, the pupils are dilated. That means one thing.
They drugged me. They wanted me to tell them something, but... Oh, please help me. I don't know anything.
You know, I'm beginning to think you mean all this. And that I should ask George a few questions. Excuse me.
I'm not the great-great-great-grandchild of Marie Bonaventure. I'm not the descendant of the Martyr of Eden. Isn't that funny? Isn't that the best joke you ever heard in your life?
Yeah, the best. How do you know for sure?
Because Chad, just a little while ago, decided to tell me the truth, finally.
Oh, finally! You know what's been going on? The entire government is falling apart. The president's resigned.
Yeah, I know. I was there when Mr. Renaldo told Chad.
That's all they're talking about out there. Nobody's even watching the pageant anymore. And some of the big shots that were here yesterday have already jumped in their cars and headed for the hills.
Well, you know, all I can hope for is that it was worth it and that it's going to mean something.
Well, Chad's father said that he was going to take all the crooks out of government, take them with him when he goes.
Chad is leaving also. His father wants him to come home, and he wants to be with his father. He's going to need his help right now.
You're the one who helped him, Jody, doing what you did. And you still tell me it's a lie?
Yeah. Chad was the one that made it all come true. He knew right along that I was not the person of that prophecy, nor was my mother. My mother had a boyfriend that came from Eden, and he recognized the resemblance right away, but he decided to use it in a different way. He was a con man.
He must have done a very good job.
Oh, he did a great job. He convinced everybody of her ancestry, including her. However, Chad knew it wasn't true, but he also knew that he could help his father and his country if he made it true.
Well, Chad was a con man, too. He convinced you of the same thing?
Yeah, I guess you could say that, except he didn't do what he did for money.
Well, what about the portrait? It looked a hell of a lot like you. Was that a coincidence?
No, it wasn't.
Well?
Chad painted it.
He what?
He painted it. He painted the portrait, and then he told everybody that the second martyr had arrived.
Well, you know, you came this close to being just that. The second martyr.
Well, Chad promised me nothing would happen to me, and what can I say? Nothing did.
Yeah, but he put your life on the line, Jody. I can't forgive him for that.
Gavin, he said exactly the same thing, except that it was very important to him, and unfortunately, it became very important to me.
Well, that's for sure. I was beginning to wonder whether you could be involved with me and be the martyr of Eden at the same time.
Well, I'm not her. And she isn't my ancestor. So there's nothing to worry about. I just can't help feeling as if I've lost something.
Really don't feel good about this, Chief. I wish it didn't have to happen.
Look, nobody likes being responsible for another man's death. I don't think he had much choice, though.
Well, especially in this case, it was kill or be killed.
That becomes a way of life in this business, doesn't it?
And death.
But I sure wish Joe Bulmer was still alive. I'd like to play 20 questions with him, find out a few things about what happened in Raleigh Castle, and I'd also like to ask him about his relationship with Eddie Lorimer and Dwight Endicott.
Well, we know that he wanted to kill Jody Travis. We just don't know who ordered him to.
How do you know that order didn't come from Lorimer himself?
Well, we don't have any evidence that indicates that, especially after what happened in Eddie's office.
Get a statement?
Yeah, it's being typed up right now for Eddie to sign. Eddie claims that Bulmer was hitting him up for some getaway funds.
It's the second time he's been hit up for money.
Yeah. Well, this time Bulmer wanted Eddie to open up his safe for him. He was marching Eddie downtown with a gun at the back of his head.
And that's when they saw you in the outer office, huh?
Yeah. I guess Bulmer just freaked out. He probably thought that I was there to arrest him for shooting Chad Sutherland. I didn't even know the shooting had happened.
Well, this guy's fired his last shot, at least.
Why do you think Bulmer shot Chad, anyway?
I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't know in this case, but I do know one thing. If there is a connection between the underworld here in Monticello and the government of Eden, this Joe Bulmer's got something to do with it.
Yeah, and so does his boss, our friend Eddie Lorimer.
Eat Central on USA.
You are quite right in this matter. There have been drastic changes back home in my government. I can safely predict there will be more.
Hey, it's your country. That's your business. I'm worried about my business.
Oh, yes, your business. The arrangements you have with my country. The trade agreements.
Yeah, what about those things?
Well, I'm sorry to inform you, you may consider them all cancelled.
Are you kidding me or what? Hey, a deal is a deal. A contract is a contract.
Only when it is mutually agreeable.
And who says it's not? You?
I am but thy humble emissary.
Oh, come on, don't give me that garbage, will you? Every time I try to get an answer out of you, you give me that Charlie McCarthy routine.
I'm very sorry. I do not connect the reference.
You don't, huh? Well, let me tell you something. You're not talking for anybody else, are you? You're talking for yourself, aren't you?
Yes. Finally. I can speak for myself. I can assure you, it is a great relief.
Sure. So you're the guy who's going to welch on this whole deal, huh?
I have talked to my superiors. The president of Eden has resigned his office, not before he has dismissed the entire cabinet, and it is now a new provisional government in Eden.
Well, let me tell you something. I don't give a damn about your political garbage. You understand that?
Mr. Lorimer, hear me out. This provisional government, their first act was to declare null and void all agreement between Eden and your country. There will be no more shipping of orders.
All right, let me tell you something. I got a lot of friends over there. You understand that?
Then you will be happy to hear you will be seeing them soon. They are all going to be deported.
What are you talking about?
Yes, your friends are coming home, including Mr. Endicott. I'm sure you'll be happy to see him.
Where'd you get that crazy idea?
Well, I understand you have not been too successful with his art gallery.
Oh, no? I sold the picture.
I do not think I have anything more to say.
Well, let me tell you something. I got something more to tell you. If you think this little affair is over, you're crazy. We'll be back.
Mr. Lorimer, we are a very small country. But we do have a well-trained militia. Let me suggest, when you and your friends come back, that you arrive by battleship.
Hey, what the hell is going on here anyway? Whose side are you on?
Mr. Lorimer, finally I have discovered whose side I am on. Now, if you will excuse me, I am going home. And even if you do not, I am still living. For home. Right.
I already told them, Didi. You want the story, you ask the cops.
I want to hear it from you, Troy.
Why? Because you want to defend me? Forget it, Didi.
Well, rules have been waived before.
Nikki, you're too expensive for me. I can't afford your fees.
Well, we'll make some kind of arrangements then. Hey, look, Troy, would you forget for once that I'm a lawyer and remember that I am your sister?
Yeah, and you better forget that I'm your brother, okay?
I don't want to hear you talk like that, Troy.
Come on, I'm trying to be noble like in the movies. Give me a break, all right?
Troy, I love you.
Yeah, cheap sentiment again, eh, Didi?
Okay, it's cheap sentiment. Maybe that's why I'm here, and maybe that's why you should let me help you.
You can't help me. I killed a cop. The next stop for me is a death cell. That slab instead of him.
And you felt that he was going to fire again?
I knew he was. Look, I did what I had to do.
Troy, you didn't deliberately turn the gun against him, did you?
I didn't want to leave the man dead. I just wanted to leave him. The whole thing is one big accident, but you try explaining that to a bunch of his fellow officers.
Hey, Troy, I believe you.
Well, that makes two of us.
The only thing I don't understand is why were you there in the first place?
Like I told you, I was just checking out the drama studio.
But why?
Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I thought I could be, look, an actor or something. I don't know.
Oh, Troy, was that the real reason, or are you hiding something from me? Answer me, Troy.
What difference does it make? I mean, the case is over before it starts, cut and dried. If you don't believe that, ask your cop friend.
Well, I'm sure you'd like more coffee. I'll fix some.
And Nancy, I'll join you. I think maybe Mike and David could use some private conversation.
Something tells me I've been a bit obvious, Mrs. Saxon.
Nonsense. I understand perfectly.
We could always go in the study.
No. You stay here. Just call when you're ready.
Thank you. Mike, there is something I wanted to tell you, something confidential.
Something to do with that phone call you made?
Yes, I made that call because of what Mrs. Saxon told us, about Fowler Wilcox being a prime candidate as head of the CEA. As I said, I had absolutely no knowledge of anything like that.
It came as a surprise to me, too.
Well, I called someone in Washington who would know about such things, and he was a bit embarrassed that I did know.
I can understand that. To consider someone for the top security job in the country who turns out to be a security risk.
Well, I'm sure that's why it was never made public.
But, David, is it really important? Now, I mean?
It might be. Extremely important. You see, I asked this man whether or not Wilcox, because of his imminent appointment, had access to any other documents besides the ones that were missing.
And did he?
Apparently, yes. All of them, Mike. He had received a complete briefing on the status of CEA operations. He could have pulled any file of any classification. I mean, any.
But why are you worried about that? You know which documents were missing.
I thought I knew. They weren't vital losses, being strategy papers. Strategy could be changed.
But then you think something else was taken?
Not taken, Mike. Copied.
Geraldine, give me your honest opinion. Do you think that there's even the slightest chance that Raven will win over your nephew?
Well, let's see. If I were to be perfectly logical about this, I would say never. Not in a million years.
And if you were to be illogical about it?
Oh, Nancy, I'm not sure I can predict the actions of either Raven or Schuyler. They are two of the most unpredictable people I have ever known.
A perfect match.
Perhaps. But still, I think probably they would drive each other crazy. But apparently the young lady in whom Schuyler is most interested at this moment is Valerie Bryson.
Yes, I did know that she has been seeing him.
You don't seem too pleased about that.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with it. They're both unattached, and certainly your nephew is a very attractive young man.
Oh, yes, Schuyler has his charms, to say nothing of his fortune. It would be a rare young woman who wouldn't be interested in that, too.
Well, I think that Valerie is rare.
But human, my dear. Oh, yes, I'm sure there must be 100 young women in town who would give anything to be in Valerie's shoes.
Yes, I'm sure there are.
That bothers you, doesn't it?
Well, Geraldine, you know that Mike and I feel close to Valerie.
Yes, I know that.
And we're concerned about her, and we want to be sure that she's happy.
But you're not just sure where that happiness lies. She's been seeing that other young man recently, hasn't she, Jim Diedrichson?
Yes, she has. As a matter of fact, she still is seeing him. She isn't dating either one of them on an exclusive basis.
And that's her privilege, of course.
Yes, I know that she likes Jim. He seems to be facing a rather uncertain future himself.
Yes, Schuyler did mention that to me.
Apparently, he's hoping for his theatrical career to catch fire.
And while he's waiting for that, Schuyler undoubtedly is dazzling that poor girl.
Geraldine, what kind of a match do you think that would be? Valerie and Schuyler. I mean, she's so open. She's loving and generous.
I know, my dear. And my nephew is none of those things. He's much more Raven's type.
Oh, I've got to get up. I've got to find out what's going on. Oh, get away from me!
No, it's all right. Mr. Foley has offered to explain himself.
Find out why he's so interested in the matter.
There must be a connection to the Fowler-Wilcox case. If he's going around asking these questions about Jefferson Brown...
Now, wait a minute. If Brown is the real culprit...
I'm not ready to swear to that yet, Mike. Maybe they were even Confederates.
Oh, I'm sure you don't really believe that.
All I know is I have a terribly uneasy feeling right now. We have got to do everything possible to get our hands on this man.
Well, go on, George. You must have something to say for yourself. Tell us why you were pretending to be a... what was it? Counter-espionage agent?
You were lying, I heard you.
I thought you were supposed to be my caretaker, George. You and your sister Yvonne.
Caretaker?
I hired them from an employment agency to take care of the estate during my absence abroad. Is that correct, George?
Yes, it's what we were doing.
Apparently you've been doing more than that.
He drugged me, look.
Stop! Well, it wasn't loaded anyway. Are you all right?
Oh, I feel a little weak.
Don't you think it's time you told me your name?
My name is Raven Whitney.
Entertainment